Are rabbits a problem for conservation? Well, the simple answer is yes, but not in the way that you might expect. You see, rabbits live on farmland, and when those populations explode on farmland, they feed and fuel our predators. The predators on farm can be cats, they can be stoats, and they can be ferrets. And typically, the cat numbers will explode, the stoat numbers will explode, and those ferret numbers will explode also. When the stoat numbers explode on farm, they grow and the stoats get pushed back into the bush, where they can be an issue to kiwi and whio and other species in the bush as well as on farm. Those ferret numbers, they explode and they typically live on the farmland. They don't typically live in the bush, but when their population explodes in response to a rabbit plague, they will get pushed into the bush, and that's when they can have devastating effects on kiwi. Cats is a really interesting one though. In the South Island, in that Otago country, in that Canterbury country where it's dry and there's lots and lots of rabbits, the cats have a huge impact on our lizard species. We've got plenty of skinks that live in those rocky areas of Otago and Canterbury, and the cats just spend all their time hunting lizards, and they will fill up their guts, and you may find hundreds of skinks inside a wild cat's puku. In the North Island, they can also be an issue for bats. So bats typically roost in the edge between farmland and the bush. They'll roost in our little forest fragments on farmland as well. And the cats will just sit outside a bat roost and swipe bats as they come out, feeding themselves. And it's been recorded that a single cat can have up to 300 bat carcasses in their stomach at one time. So you see, rabbits don't eat our native species, but they're a food source to those that do. And when their numbers are out of control, so too is the predator numbers. And that's how we have that's how rabbits are a big contributor to the loss of biodiversity in Aotearoa. But good news, rabbits are also delicious. That's why they were introduced. Our Scottish and English ancestors, most of which were common people, were allowed to catch rabbits. So they introduced rabbits to Aotearoa as a food source. They weren't able to hunt deer back in the old days because deer were reserved for lords and the higher echelon of society. So they got to New Zealand, they released rabbits, but they also released deer. And they were allowed to hunt deer as well as rabbits. Of course you're going to go hunt deer because deer are much bigger, there's much more food, and they're much tastier than rabbits. But rabbits are still a good food source, and the rabbit population has gotten out of control. I myself love a good rabbit pie. I will cook a young rabbit up and turn it into rabbit tortillas, rabbit tacos, absolutely delicious. And also my favorite of all is to soak young rabbit in buttermilk overnight in the fridge. It breaks down the tissue fibers and the muscle, and it becomes incredibly tender, incredibly tasty. And then I'll batter it and deep fry it in a pan of oil. Absolutely incredible. So rabbits, they do contribute to conservation in a negative way because they feed our predators, but also they're a tasty snack for us as hunters.